Well, hello everybody. How are we doing tonight? So, we've got another one to unbox and another big boy. So tonight we're going to look at the AnyCubic Chiron. Hopefully the audio is better tonight. I know we've been kind of having some issues moving, new audio, trying some new microphones. Hopefully things will be sounding pretty good tonight. Trying kind of a new, it's actually on me microphone. So, Greg, it's great seeing the chat. Yeah, this printer is kind of an older one. It's already been kind of replaced by a new model by the Cobras. But it's the last one that I had right before it was time to move. So as far as FDM printers, this is the last one I got to get out of the box and kind of trying to finish the new print shop. This is the last one for the FDM side. I'm still waiting on one more for the resin side to show up. It hasn't shown up yet, so we will see. Thanks, Greg, for letting me know the audio is good. Like I said, trying out a few new things. Got some things on my waist to kind of help here. So, and I know last time it was all in mono, which is not what we wanted, but tonight I think I have it sorted out finally. So, got some better audio going on. I do apologize if I accidentally hit my shirt or something like that ahead of time. So if you guys are joining later, sorry. But yeah, let's start getting this guy out of the box because this is a relatively big printer. And with that being such a larger printer, in reality, I'm going to put it together down here on stream and kind of look it over, get it put together, try to power it on tonight. But then I have to take it back apart to probably get it through the door to the new print shop. So all in all, kind of a silly kind of thing to do, but that's what we do. So, and as you guys can see, I mean, this box is huge. It doesn't look very thick, but when you look at the angle of it, it's a big box. So what I'm going to do is what I'm loving about some of this new stuff is I'm going to angle the camera down. So we can actually see in the box. So we got all kinds of goodies to look at here tonight. All right, useful foam. Thinner piece, probably not so useful, but we'll play with it. Now, this is the first AnyCubic FDM printer I've ever had in the shop. So this one's very new for me. So first thing I pulled out, looks like we got a hot end in there, the power cord, knife. We'll go through that bag here in a few minutes. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. So more foam. And here's what I mean by this thing is relatively large. So this is a relatively big build plate. Let's see here. Let's get the gantry out first. So just first look at it. This is very much making me feel like it's very comparable to my CR10 Max. Size-wise, build-wise, that's pretty darn big. So that's the Z-axis. So it stands really tall. Looking at the design, we got dual Z rods, which is great. I love the cable control that's involved here with the cable caddy. Those can get annoying, but they also can be very useful. So taking a look here some more. Got a enclosed extruder. We got a filament sensor, and we got a very nice looking wire harness. So I'd say that's really a nice one. So I'm actually going to set this just over to the side here. And we're going to get in a little bit deeper. So foam can go for a ride. Oh, okay. So this is all going to come out together. Let's get that foam off. Got a remove this paper before you start printing. And manual leveling paper. That's kind of nice. All in all, here's the rest of the body. So let's get this freed from the foam. Got some heavy duty zip ties holding what looks like the control box in place. so it doesn't move. But let's get this up on the bench. Little scary that there's a bolt just flying around in here. That's a little troublesome. We're going to set him over here so we keep track of him. And then, all right, we're going to have a conversation about this. And let's get this camera pointed back up. All right. So here's something done right. So lately, Creality and other vendors have been just sending a little bit of filament, no spool, nothing. This is done right. So how much is here? So I'd say there's a quarter of a spool here, or maybe even half a spool, but they sent a spool. This is the right thing to do. So I can actually do test prints, I can calibrate, and I'm using your own material to do what I need to do. Other vendors that are sending that little bit, come on guys, step up the game, quit trying to cut the corner. A full spool of filament is like 25 bucks. To improve your people's experience, you know, send the filament. That's all you got to do. It improves the experience. It doesn't make you look like you're just clamoring for profit, and it lets them have a first time running and a better time printing. That's all I'm saying. So I'm going to set this over here to the side, and we're going to go back to the goodie bag. Because one, we need the book. I can pretty much look at this and guess how to put it together, but we need the book. All right. So looks like a lot of tools and stuff in there. We'll set that to the side. And we got the book. So this guy is a massive printer. We got the AnyCubic warranty card. I'll set that there. Now this is something that surprised me. They sent an entire hot end assembly replacement. That's pretty cool. Now this is usually, it's like a $30 or $40 part, and they've included a second one. So that either bodes ill or bodes really well for the machine, and actually kind of gives some brownie points, in my opinion, to the manufacturer. So this is their auto leveler. So we're going to set that to the side. A very nice heavy duty power cord. I like it when they send the heavier duty ones and not the cheapos. We've got the SD card. That's important. I don't really use these, but these are the needle. You poke the needle of this up into the nozzle to clear it. I don't really use them. I use a no clog that I just push down into the hot end to clear it. And we got some bolts and what looks like parts for the filament arm, probably. All right, so we'll set that aside as well. These Ziploc bags come in very handy too, so don't get rid of these. Because if you're working on a project or something that's multiple, bunch of little pieces or something, these come in handy to put them all together and set them aside, so that way, you know, you're not throwing away, putting plastic out there, even though it's recyclable. But you're reusing what you're getting, and you're not wasting money on more stuff. So the bags come in handy. Don't get rid of them. All right, where's the other bag? All right, let's go through the smaller bag. And yes, I'm laying everything out in an order for me, so. All right, so we've got the USB cable, which is gonna be handy for when I hook this up to a Raspberry Pi to do the filament. So it's a USB A to B, standard kind of normal printing cable. So that's very handy to have. They sent a USB thumb drive. Is this just a card reader? So, yep, USB card reader. It actually looks like a fairly nice one. So here's hoping. And they sent some nitrate gloves. Not quite sure why they sent the nitrate gloves, but hey, we'll take them because that can go over to my resin farm. All right, what else we got in here? The pretty standard 3D printing putty knife. Here's the tool bag. So we've got the Allen wrenches. These are nice Allen wrenches. They've got the curved heads. Got a very nice and interesting looking long wrench. That's kind of nice. The all-important mini screwdriver. I wonder what we're going to do with that. That's a little ominous. A really nice pair of clippers. The grips feel really nice. So that's not your standard Creality spring-loaded. These are actually kind of nice feeling. Put the cover back on those. And then they sent a pair of very nice tweezers. Huh. Interesting. But we'll put those to use. And another useful Ziploc bag. All right, what else we got in the bag? We got the bolts. I'm assuming this is what we'll use to attach the T-frame. And I'm assuming these will bolt into the sides to strengthen the T-frame. Because it doesn't look like we have a set of tube braces, which may be an addition I put on later. So a lot of times, and I'll show, my CR10s, I have bracers that go to the front of the printer up to the top of the gantry. That just helps it. So yeah, it does look a lot like the Illigu Neptune. And of course, I always kind of take a look at the book. T-plate kits, yep, M5 25-inch screws. Filament holder. Yep, card reader, okay. So, oh, this is different. So I haven't seen much like this, and I'm going to try to get the book here. So the leveling piece actually you put on for a leveling process, and then you take it off. So that's kind of neat. That's different than the auto levelers I've worked with. Now, in all honesty, I'm probably going to just level this one. Manually is what I tend to do. I'm a little confused why the book is just kind of straight into talking about the menus. And about midway through, we finally get to actually putting it together. That's a little weird. But we'll take that just as we go. So, all right. So what we're going to do here is, if I don't get in the way of the camera, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, we've got to watch out for sharp edges. We've got to cut some zip ties. Then we'll move on to installing the frame with 4 bolts into the bottom of the T-frame. Then we'll put the braces in the side with the T-nuts to really kind of strengthen it up. Then we'll turn the control panel the proper way, and we'll start getting everything plugged in. Then we'll make the filament holder. So, and then the all-important thing is the transfer switch. I'm in the United States, so we need to make sure we set that to the 110 volt and not the 220 volt. A lot of them will say 230 and 115. It's just kind of a give and take depending on the manufacturer and stuff of the board. But we want to make sure that we're definitely doing the right power, because we could ruin the board. So, all right. I kind of got the gist of what I need to do. So we're going to start putting it together. So I know I need these, this, and the Allen wrenches. I need the bolts, the T-things, and yeah. So we're going to get them nice and close over here. I'm going to grab a knife. I'm going to cut away the saran wrap so I can actually get into this. And then I'm going to very slowly, because I don't have another knife. You know what? It would be smarter if I use the snippers that they supplied me. Got to think better, right? All right. All right. 1 zip tie gone. 2 zip ties gone. Oh. Oh. You are heavy. But you are beautiful. All right, we'll get these zip ties cut away. All right. 1 zip tie, 2 zip ties. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take this leveling paper off for now so we can actually get a look at the bed. It is a grid. It is glass, which I myself prefer glass beds. Yeah, it's always good to check that. I'm in the US, so we're always the 110, the 220. It is always kind of a... the first time I ran into it, I'm sitting there going, why is this printer not starting? I'm trying to do a video about it. And I'm just sitting there for like 15 minutes before I broke down, went and read the book, and figured out about the switch. So that was kind of a, you dummy, but I was relatively new to printing. It was an Ender 3. It was my second Ender 3 Pro that actually fooled me once. So, and actually that transfer switch is right here underneath the base, and right off the bat, I'm just going to switch it now. So for this model, it's right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you just got to switch it and we're done. So now we'll have the correct power. And if you guys, can't see anything really well, I am going to rehash some of this in a video. Some of the clips from this will go into that video, but also there'll be different editions and stuff like that in the video to kind of move around the printer more. I know it's kind of hard to kind of see sometimes with how I'm doing it right here, but trust me, there's a video coming on this one later. And of course, the replay is always available after the end of the stream. So we do like to keep the replays out there. Whether they're good or bad or, Oh, let's kind of get the cables free here a little bit so the bed can actually move around. Awesome. All right. So we're ready to start attaching the frame, and the frame will go right here. 2 bolts will come up. This is the front. What I'll have to do is undo 2 bolts here, turn the display the proper way. It's just like that for shipping, and we'll turn it around. So now's the time to get the right Allen wrenches and get those nice long bolts. Tanner, I've seen the Ender 3 extender kits. A lot of people have had good luck with it. Are you running 1 Z-Rod or 2? Because a lot of the dual Z-Rod kits are not compatible with the extension kits. So kind of keep that in mind. If you're thinking about doing the extension kit, there are, I think some folks have made the dual extension kits. Because my Ender 3 V2, I run dual Z-Rod on it, and it just made printing life on that printer so much better. For me, anyway, it did. So it's something definitely to check on before making the plunge for the extender kit. All else fails, a lot of times those extender kits are what, $100? The Ender 3 Max is not not horribly expensive, and there's no problem having extra printers. So kind of keep that in mind too, as I make the joke, because it's always nice to have one more printer, isn't it? All right, so we're gonna bring this guy into place here. We're gonna scooch him back. Now luckily the size of my cabinet, I have off just enough that I can get the bolts in. Without too much issue. I need to get the Allen wrench. What did I do with the Allen wrenches? Here I am already losing stuff. All right, get the right wrench for the right job. As Scotty say, get the right tool to do the right job. Oh. bolt up. This is always kind of the hard part. Once you get the first couple threads in it, you're gold. Go. There's those two. Then what you do next, now normally what I would do is I would take a right angle, make sure I've got a perfect 90, but like I said, since I have to take this printer apart to move it actually up into the print shop, which means I have to dismantle it again, I'm not going to do that tonight, but usually you would see me take a square and make sure it's perfectly 90. So the Ender 3 V2 extension is just a height extension. It's not a bed size extension, Tanner. So it's just going to make the printer taller. Now if you're wanting to do a helmet, you can always break the helmet into pieces with Mesh Mixer. It's a free tool, free to download. I actually have a video on there how to cut stuff up to print it in pieces. That way you can keep using the smaller printer but also get the larger prints. Now I will say too, Creality has had the CR10 V2 on sale for like $239 lately. It might be worth just selling the Ender 3 and swapping up to the CR10 V2. I have lots of good things to say about the CR10 V2. I have 3 of them, so I haven't seen the bed extension before. I'm curious to see how that one would pan out. But in all honesty, extender kits and stuff like that, you can get into a lot of gray, bad area. It may be worth your attention to kind of look at a CR10 V2 for that $239 if it's still selling at that price point, and then sell off your Ender 3 V2 and recoup some of your money for the better investment for the bigger CR10, which can handle the helmets and probably is going to be bigger than that extension kit. Just kind of something to keep in mind. There's links to the CR10 V2 in my descriptions usually, but that may be more worth your while than the extender kits, because the extender kits you get into a lot of firmware and different things like that that can just be a mess. Because I haven't worked with the extender kits before, so I can't really be a good help to you on that one, unfortunately. All right, those T-nuts with this T-brace, giving that some more strength. All right, that side's done. Move some of this stuff out of my way so I can turn the cart and do the other side. All right. That's the fun of having a tool cart in your shop, is just being able to move it around and work on it how you need to. So, Tanner, I don't know if that answered your questions or helped you out. Kind of one of those things. I'm torn on it because you're going to have to do all the firmware work. It may just be better to just upgrade the printer to a new printer. So that's the way I would go. Of course, this is the guy that doesn't use his Ender 3 V2 very much, other than I'm putting the laser kit on it. But hey, you know, fun. All right, get 2 more bolts and washers. Now let's get this guy pushed up in here. So kind of my first impressions, just talking about the printer and taking a look at it. It looks like a very good build. A lot of thought went into this build. So there are some things that I would change, and I probably will upgrade if this printer does stay on my main production floor. But all in all, the build itself doesn't look bad at all. Sturdy steel, sturdy construction. I love the T-nut, the T-bracer. It's kind of just a extra layer of protection for the machine, which is always good, because, you know, we invest a lot of money in these machines. If you were to go get a brand new Cobra for whatever the $600-700 we're selling the Cobra for right now, I mean, you want to have a good sturdy investment. And I've heard some people have horror stories on these machines. I've heard horror stories for the Ender 3s. So it's kind of one of those things that really is kind of difficult to say whether this is going to be a good machine till I truly put it to the test. And when it comes to doing a helmet, yeah, this guy can handle a helmet. So, all right, sorry guys, just checking the chat, keeping up with you guys. I want to make sure I'm paying attention to everybody. Get all these bolts in place. So as far as build so far, getting an assembled printer, this isn't too bad. So time-wise, build-wise, this is going relatively quick. The wiring harness looks quite simplistic, which is always a good thing. So we've got the T-nuts in, we got the T-bracers on both sides, firm, secured. That ain't moving. That's a good thing. We don't want flexibility or any give in this between the frame. So, and again, normally what I would do is I would have a carpenter square, and I would be making sure this is a 90 to the base. But again, I have to dismantle the printer again. That's why I'm not doing it tonight. All right, so now it's wire time. Or no, not yet. Now it's time to move the control panel. So I'm gonna roll this back around. Oh. All right, what we got to do is there are two bolts right here. Basically, the control panel's held in with some T-nuts. So we got to undo that, pull our wiring around, and then oh, okay, I see what I got to do. I got to move it down here to this side frame. Easy peasy. And then tighten it back in place. Nothing I have to do with cabling or anything like that. It easily moves in. So, awesome. Pretty easy. All right, now one of the things I've noticed when they pack this one, a lot of zip ties involved. So we'll have to make sure we're getting these cut through and worked through easily enough. But I'm going to cut the zip ties and I'm going to start doing the wire harness here. So the wire harness is pretty straightforward. Red to red, blue to blue. So we'll click those into place. Make sure it goes straight in. Do not bend any pins. Those are right into place. Now right here too on the side, we've got the USB port right here, and we've got the SD card reader right there, power, and the power switch. But we've still got a few more things to plug in. So kind of just looking around here, I can see that I've got a Z-axis motor here. So I will plug it in. I'm not quite sure where you're going, but we'll figure that out. And on the other side, there's the two connectors again as well. So we got they're the stops, limiting switches. So I'll plug in this side Z motor. And now that I see it, the two limiting switches. We'll get them plugged in. Now what I may do is, kind of looking at that, I don't like the way that lays, so I'll probably take a zip tie and pull that tight. But we'll get this one. There's a switch right here that the plugs into, so we'll get that plugged in here. All right. And as far as cable plugging, we're done. All right. So we've done all that. I'm going to pull the card around here real quick. Try to get the printer head on. Because of its size, it's a little hard to do that. So you guys can see the control panel, all that. Conveniently, I have a power cord right here, so we didn't have to open that up. And we are going to get this guy plugged in. I've already made the switch to 115. The switch is right here. If it's set to 220 and you're in the US or anywhere like that, it ain't going to turn on. So be careful of that. Make sure you switch it. I showed how to do that earlier. So let's get some power into place. I'm going to do the smart thing and double check the book and make sure I did not skip any steps. That was weird. I did not put the filament together. Let's do that real quick. All right. Let's get the filament holder assembled before I run off and forget about it. So basically, this is a similar, this one's a little bit different. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys there in the chat, or the chat's not stuck. That does happen from time to time. I notice it ain't moving, so just double checking on you guys. Okay. Making sure I understand how this assembles. So kind of first impression looking at it, there is some things that concern me. So the track to the hot end is a good thing, and it's a double-edged sword. And here's why I'm going to say that, Greg, is when the hot end has to be replaced and you got to pull new wires, you got to take that whole thing, you got to take it off and get everything out of there. And that can be a bit of a mess, but hopefully the printer is good enough that you're not doing that. At least very often. So like most of the Creality printers, that meshing is just zip tied to the Bowden tube, and you can kind of guess why. So hot ends sometimes can be really nice to work with, sometimes they can be a pain in the butt. It honestly depends on the hot end and the machine. I've had machines, I've never replaced them. I've had machines where I've used 2 or 3 by now. So cable management though is a great thing. That track is going to keep everything out of the way, keep things clean. So that is one definitely. I'm kind of hoping all the AnyCubics are like that. It definitely can make a lot better kind of machine. So it can, again, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, Greg. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It makes the printer look sleek and nice, but also you got to unbolt it, get everything out of it, and you know, where a lot of companies just bolt to the Bowden tube, and feeling that is a very light Bowden tube. That might get replaced. We'll take that one. That one will require some supervision. So kind of one of those things I've run into where Capricorn is good, is really good. But I have had times too where I've actually upped it to 1.8 instead of 1.75 and had really good luck with the Bowden tubes being a bit larger, because I've had it where the Bowden tube shrinks, and that ain't fun. All right, so we're gonna get the filament arm in here. Hopefully I have the right wrench. I doubt it. All right, filament arm is now on. Actually, I don't like where I put it, so I'm going to scoot it back a little bit. That's just a little bit of loosening and scooting back. Nothing too crazy. Those are just 2 bolts with T-nuts going into the rail. All right, there we go. All right, so we got that in place. The one step I almost skipped. Oh dear. All right, power's good. All right, here we go. Oh yes. All right, let's see what she does. Let's see how loud she is. Not horribly loud. Plays a little song for me when I start it up. That's kind of fun. So, color display, touchscreen. That's always a big win. All right, so let's go to setup. I don't need to do anything in setup. Go to tools. Let's home the printer. Let's home them all. Now we're going to get kind of a true feeling for the sound of the machine, which its motors are sounding pretty loud. I like the clips for the glass. I like the look of the glass. And those both went in their limiting switches and stopped. So that's really good. So I could see the filament being up here, mount up here, and be a direct, if it was a direct drive machine. It's not. So we're going to keep it over here. The extruder is more like a Titan extruder. They've glued some of these cables into the motors, which could be problematic later on. But all in all, she turned on well. I probably will take it through a manual leveling, and then we'll get some G-code going here probably next. Would probably be my next thing. Run it through a test print before the video. But guys, first impression out of the box, this is a big machine. It's a big printer. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, that's your build plate. Very easily enough to do helmets. Actually, measuring tape. So we are looking at a 16 by 17 build plate. That's pretty nice, actually. A 16 by 17 is definitely big enough to do a helmet. It's definitely big enough to do all kinds of cool big stuff. It's not as big as my CR10 Max, but I think it's very comparable to the CR10 size. So definitely a lot of bells and whistles. The filament sensor, the extruder are definitely big upgrades compared to a Creality machine. The tracking is nice, but could be a double-edged sword. I like the dual limiting switches on the Z-axis. Most of the time they only have one. I'm going to have to play with the leveling mechanism. The Bowden tube is a little bit of a concern. It's kind of thin. What they sent with the printer. Sending me the auto leveling device is pretty cool. They sent me a good set of tools. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing that they sent me a whole nother hot end assembly. I'm a little worried about that. But we'll run this down the road. Because one thing that I noticed about this is the size of the heat block is actually is a lot smaller than a Creality nozzle. So than the Creality used hot ends. And the one thing I'm noticing that they didn't send me was any spare nozzles. That is a little weird. Usually like Creality and them send at least one spare nozzle. But maybe that's what this whole spare hot end. They're just like, don't mess with the nozzle, just change it. So that very much could be, which looks like it's 1, 2, 3 bolts to get the carriage off and to get to it. So that's not too harsh to work with. Full SD card instead of a micro SD card. I really wish 3D printing would standardize on this. Are we doing micro or are we doing standard? Or are we just doing what's convenient at the time and I can get on the boards? Makes it kind of hard to keep stuff standardized. I do like that it is an A to B cable, so when I plug this into a Raspberry Pi to control it with Octoprint, that I can really kind of keep some good control. So kind of wrapping up on the highlights of this printer, there's a lot of good to it. I love the look of the glass bed with the gridding. I love the touchscreen control panel. That is definitely a big plus. The way this was packed was beautiful. The way it packed in the box, the limited amount of assembly I had to do is really good. I do have some concerns about structurally support as we start printing, but I got to take that over time. The T-braces were definitely a good addition to give strength to the frame melding together. The wiring harness looks beautiful. It comes together very, very well. I like how it's put together. Accessibility to the switches all being on the right side with the control panel. The box being built in gives the printer definitely a much lower profile. I don't have that big bulky control box of a CR10 V2 or a CR10. So there are a lot of perks. I love that it's dual Z-rod right out of the box. Because to me that actually reduces the amount of times I have to level a machine. And a lot of times I can go for 6, 7 prints without having to run a leveling test, which is pretty awesome. So all in all, the machine, I mean, as much as I've been talking and showing off and different things, we've only been running the stream for 45 minutes, guys, and this machine is online and ready to start going through bed leveling and its first test prints. Pretty awesome, if you ask me. So filament loading process, leveling process. So there's definitely a lot of coolness here. We've got our main fan, which currently is not spinning. Secondary fan on the side here. That actually is a little concerning that the fan is not spinning. It may not till I kick off a job. The wiring harness is well built into it, bolted in some places, well harnessed. Some places I want to get zip ties, like for these limiting switches, just to make sure the cables stay pressed against and don't get out here to where these clips that hold the bed in can catch it. So, but all in all, I think this is going to be a good addition to my shop. We'll have to definitely get her up there and get her with the rest of them. There's a lot of advanced settings that I can see in here that look a little intimidating, but we will definitely kind of take a look through it. So a lot of good things in here. A lot of good things. I like the clippers. I like the wrenches. Now here's I'm going to talk about the wrenches for a second they sent. I don't know if the camera's going to show that, but you can see the head right here. So I can actually be somewhat at an angle and still twisting into the bolt with these, instead of just a straight shot cheap Allen wrenches. When you send good tools with a good machine, it helps out the experience of the machine. So, and one of the things a lot of the 3D printing companies are doing, they're sending just enough to put it together, but not enough to operate it. AnyCubic is definitely stepping up with the wrenches you need to operate it. And what you need to get started. The filament, that was very, very good, at least 250 grams, enough to get through test printing and get started and just have a good printing experience, which is just important when you're doing these 3D printings, especially in the beginners. It's real easy to get discouraged, especially when you're looking at something this big. It's real easy to get discouraged real quick. And basically, you just got to run through the parts, control panel, print bed, Y-axis, X, and Z, and then understand your motors. I love, one thing I have noticed, a little surprised, they've got dampeners on this. They got a dampener on this motor, but not on the others. Just this motor back here has a damper. That's a little strange. But as far as sound, it's a little loud. The fans are a little bit louder. We're at rest right now. We're not heated up. You know what? For fun, tools, preheat. I'm going to preheat PLA. So it's going to take us up to 190. We're going to get a roar of the fans going on here. See how loud she actually gets, and make sure these actually kick on as that hot end heats up. So I already heard a little bit of an increase from the fan here because we're heating up the bed right now. Nozzle's already up to 63, the bed's up to 31 and increasing. Both are increasing at the same time. Thank you. I have printers that the bed has to heat up, then the hot end will heat up. Heat them at the same time. But it's just kind of one of those things. There's definitely some good stuff here. So while this does its thing, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the channel and stuff. We are almost done with the print shop. It is all the FDM printers that were unboxed. This one will be added to them, are now powered on. We're still getting kind of the network connections and the Raspberry Pi and some lighting for the camera set up, but we're almost there. What does that mean? That means you guys will get to see it here pretty soon. And I'm excited to bring it to you guys. We have put a lot of work in building this shop. It is better, definitely cleaner, and looks quite nice compared to the old print shop, and has a lot of new features that we didn't have in the old facility. So definitely kind of one of those fun things coming up with the channel. This is the last FDM printer that I've had to unbox. I know we have the Ender 3S1 Pro. We're going to fully take a deep dive into laser engraving. You'll see more of the Cricut hopefully coming up here soon as well. Now as far as the Halloween project, kind of run out of time. The move definitely ate into my time a lot more than what I expected and what I planned. So we're not going to be really doing a big Halloween cosplay armor this year, but we will do some cool Halloween stuff for next month. So don't worry about that. Stick around. There's still stuff to come with that. Maybe we'll do something with the Mandalorian armor I did a few years ago or something like that. But unfortunately, we just don't have time to really do a full-scale armor. So I'm sad about that because I was looking forward to it. So we are heated up to 190. The fans are going. Everybody's roaring. The bed is nice and warm to touch. And really, honestly, it's not that bad. If you were to put this in the downstairs away from your bedroom or something like that, definitely, if you're 3D printing, keep it in a climate-controlled area. I don't know how many times I talk to people and they're like, my printer failed in minute print. And, well, yeah, it was 110 degrees in your garage during the day. Of course it failed. Your bed got to 110 degrees. So climate-controlled space, and just keep an eye on it. Keep playing with your settings, do your calibration tests, and just keep playing with it. Feel free to reach out to me with questions. My email is on the About page, so feel free to email me with questions. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the crew here, as we are playing with all kinds of new streams on Tuesdays, and then Fridays we have videos. Like I said, we're going to be getting back to the printing projects. We're going to be getting back to what we used to do. So, but we're still going to have tool reviews and all kinds of stuff, and kind of pick on some topics that have been bugging me a lot here lately, like sanding and stuff like that, that none of us, if you like sanding, I have a hard time with sanding. I lose patience. But I do this, but I can't have the patience to sand. So, hey Douglas, welcome to the stream. We're just wrapping up, but I'm glad you were able to make it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the view of the AnyCubic Chiron getting unboxed. I'm going to get this guy up to the shop and get him calibrated and get a Raspberry Pi on him, if I have a spare one. Those have been hard to find lately at, the right price. You go on Amazon looking for a Raspberry Pi 4 right now, they're like $200. It's a $35 board. Come on, guys. I know there was a chip shortage, but seriously. So, kind of one of those fun things, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Stick around. Hopefully in a week or so we'll have a whole video on this guy. Stick around for the laser engraving stuff that's coming up, and also just all kinds of fun 3D printing stuff. And you guys have a suggestion, leave it down in the comments below. Just if you're here and you stop by and view the video, say hi in the comments. It helps us out. Also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, go over and check out our Patreon page and help us out. So, okay. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know this one's another kind of short stream, but I'm still kind of working on getting things put together. You guys are seeing more models starting to appear and stuff like that. We're starting to get stage put together. We're starting to get stuff done. You can see I've got my painting booth right here. Yeah, lots of stuff in the works. So stick around. If you have a suggestion, let me know. We're always growing. Hopefully the audio was way better tonight. We'll continue trying to work on that and make new things and make that one better. But we're just kind of working on what we can. Got the camera position so I'm not actually looking weirdly away all the time. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show and stick around, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, have a good night.